I go by the handle that the Nickerson Garden know me as a Triple OG, Bounty Hunter Frog #1.
What it do? All red chucks yelling out, so war.
So the reason why I'm the Triple OG, because I've been Frog since 72. Johnny Westbrook been Frog since 78. My brother Dwayne been Frog since 79. And Bill Heavy Frog been Frog probably since the early 80s. So I just want to just let everyone know that I'm not Johnny Westbrook, I'm not my brother, and I'm not Bill Haver. I am the Triple OG Frog that hung out with Joe Barker, Gary Barker, and them type of guys.
How far back does Triple OG Frog go with the Nickerson Gardens?
Oh, far as me as a child, I moved in there between around like 64, 65, somewhere in that era, during the Watts Riot time, the first Watts Riot, not the South Central, the OG Watts Riot. I was around 7 or 8, most likely 7. And when the gang came out, you know, hey, that was a whole nother ball game right there. I was in junior high school when everything hit the fan, 7th grade. And the Green Jacket was the only thing in Watts besides the Green Jackets. Matter of fact, I take that back. You also had the Packs and the PJs. They was the Packs at the time under Anthony Baylock and Billy Hope, under their authority, their leadership. And the Green Jacket was under Rhea Boyce, Nickerson Garden Green Jackets, and Alfred Pygmy, Jordan Down Green Jackets. And they unified them together and became the Watts Green Jackets. And that's how that went.
What year do you give the Green Jackets as far as the active years?
I would say 69, 70, probably early 71, because Rhea Boyce went to jail around 71. So when he went to prison, not prison, matter of fact, YTS, it's a YA type thing that's over there in Chino. He was up in there for a while, maybe a couple of years, and everything hit the fan once he was locked away. And I know for a fact Ray wasn't there when the Crips came out because he was locked up.
So Ray founded Green Jackets, or he was one of the founders?
Well, I put it this way. If Ray wouldn't have been a Green Jacket, the Jordan Downs and the Nickerson Garden wouldn't have had no relationship.
What type of guy was Rhea Boyce?
Well, let me tell you about my brother Ray. Rhea, R-H-E-A, that's how you really spell his name. Everybody think it's R-A-Y, but it's not. And I'm gonna tell you something about Rhea, as far as AKA Rhea Boyce. The Jordan Downs, the Pygmies, them guys loved him like a brother. They never even really called him Ray, they called him Rhea. That was his name, for his beloved name for the Jordan Down Green Jackets. They greeted him in a loving way. And he was right there with Alfred at the top of the list, 2 generals, knockout artists, both of them. And he was a very humble individual. He didn't believe in jumping on people with a gang of people. He believed in head-up fights. He liked to be entertained to see head-up fights, to see who can throw them dogs for real. Because in his mind, he always felt that any old punk could shoot a gun. Anybody can do that. But what about throwing them dogs? You know what I'm saying? That's where he come up off of. Even though I can actually say he's hitting harder than everybody that I knew in the projects and everybody that I seen. So maybe he felt that that was the best thing for him, dealing with the fist and not the gun, because he was at the top of his game with his hands.
So in a sense, would you say Rhea Boyce was the heir apparent to Raymond Washington?
Well, I would say this. Ray and Raymond Washington, that's kind of interesting because they both got that Ray in it. And I have a book that I'm reading right now. I just got about a week about Raymond Washington. I like to get it from the horse's mouth, and hopefully the book is truthful about the Crips being founded in '69. Raymond was real good with his hands, and he didn't like guns neither. But I'm going to tell you something about that. You know, a lot of guys that is good with their hands, they really kind of fear guns because they don't need a gun, and they don't even think about a gun because these are their guns.
Eastside Bounty Hunter Watts, that's my clique. Nickerson Gardens, nigga, you know the bricks. 90059, you know the zip.
Where was the Green Jackets hangout, and about what was the membership numbers like?
Well, the Green Jackets were I would say, well, let me give you a few roll calls on the Jordan Down. The top leader was Alfred Pygmy. You had two twin brothers, Ronald and Donald. And you had Black Tony, you had Angelo, you had Kirk. Now, them brothers were some solid brothers. And they're the type of guys that if they didn't know you, they will jump on you. But if you know, especially under Rhea Boyce's umbrella, you know what I'm saying, hey, they wouldn't even touch you. You could walk down 103rd all day long, all the way to Jordan High, and they would not even touch you because they know that you under Rhea Boyce's umbrella. And they all know who Rhea Boyce kick it with, you know what I'm saying, such as Marvin Jones, Terry Moses, Edwin Ely, Junior Thomas, Mad Dog Mo, you know. So he had a few guys, also Michael DeRoe, he was a Green Jacket. So being that we had Green Jackets spread at 109th Park, our location, the Nickerson Garden, you know what I'm saying, is 109th Park, and the Nickerson Garden also, I believe that that did a lot of justice for people in general, where they can go to Jordan and not even get jumped on.
All right, Jordan, we're speaking of Jordan, we're talking about Jordan High School, right?
Oh, of course.
In Watts.
Of course.
Take me back to the early 70s before there was Crips and the JDs.
Oh, before there was Crips and the JDs, you know, I can actually say that it was so much love between the Jordan Down and Nickerson Gardens to the point to where they used to come over to our gym where we had skating every Wednesday. And it was so beautiful because the love was real. I see the Jordan Down Green Jackets and the Nickerson Garden Green Jackets kicking it every Wednesday like clockwork. And Ray was right there with them, and Alfred was right there with them, and it seemed like every time they was at peace and everything. I never seen no chaos jump off, not one time.
Was before the Crips really formed, or during the time that they first began to spread, like 69, 70, were Crips allowed to attend Jordan?
Well, at that time, no, because when Raymond did come out, I didn't hear about the Crips until like 1970, and I was in the 7th grade. So the word was passed down from Jordan to Markham that ain't no Crips coming to Jordan. So therefore, the homies from the Green Jackets had it sold up, and they didn't allow nobody that had held earrings in their ears with a cross in it, hanging down to their chest, and an ace deuce to walk down 103rd going towards Jordan High. That did not happen, not in 71 at all, and not in 70 at all.
Is that how you guys identified the Crips before the colors came into play?
Precisely. That's the only thing we had to identify them. And I like that they little get up, the matter of fact, because it was very, very interesting that my homeboys also started wearing ace deuces, like in 72. You know, some of them took some ace deuces from a couple of guys at Real Roger Park that was on the other side of Central, over there by Front Street Watts. At that time, it was just the east side. Ricky Silas, that's his neighborhood. Yeah, I kind of like Rick. Rick was a funny type guy. But when I mean funny, I mean, yeah, he was really funny. He had a good humor, you know what I'm saying? And I think he can slang them things too, because the reason why I say that, he hung with the guys who can slang them things. And people in my generation, you ain't hanging with nobody if you ain't got no dogs to chunk. I'm talking about the guys who can slang them. They ain't gonna have you with them if they know that you ain't got no chunk 'em. And that's the bottom line.
Would one of those guys that hung with Ricky be Mac Thomas?
Of course, they was allies to the point to where I heard that Ricky lived over there somewhere off 101st, 102nd and McKinley, and Mac lived in the same area. So therefore, oh yeah, Mac also had a brother named Melvin Thomas, and they used to attend the WLCAC, and that stands for Watts Labor Community Action Committee, and that's where all the teenagers had to go every summer to work. And my homeboys, we used to just hang out like wolves, you know what I'm saying, waiting for somebody to get a check. So when them guys come down there, coming towards Lansing or 112 or 108, we be on the prowl, looking for somebody with an ace deuce or earring to rob, either from Corver side or from the east side.
Walk me through the rumble at Will Rogers Park between the Crips and the Green Jackets.
Well, I can tell you this for a fact. Even Crips know this. Alfred Pygmy himself single-handedly gave Mac Thomas a problem.
Who was the Pygmies?
Well, the Pygmies was a family, number one, and they was consist of 3 brothers, Alfred, Ronald, and Donald, and they had a sister also named Julie. And they was like the Wild Bunch. They used to walk around with leather jackets on or green jackets on, but they always had that glove with the fur, the rabbit fur sticking out of it. And that right hand was the hammer. You know what I'm saying? They hit you one time, and it's like a recreation punch. You know what I'm saying? Everybody laugh when they see you go to sleep because they letting everybody know you the victim. You may not know it, but everybody else know it.
Alfred and Ray was tight.
They were so tight to the point where I think that man, they had this mutual respect for each other to the point to where Alfred called him Rhea. You know what I'm saying? Nobody else called him that, but Alfred and the Pygmies.
Did the Pygmies later become affiliated with Grape Street?
No, they didn't. That's one thing they didn't. But you had one guy, Tyrone Tate. He started the first Crips over there.
If Raymond could have got us to join the Crips first, we would have been his first step into Watts. That's what he wanted.
And that was called Hickory Street. Tyrone Tate and Freddie Tate, they were also green jackets. And Tyrone for sure had hands. He's another Sugar Ray Leonard. You know what I'm saying? He know how to mix the blender on you real good and pick you up and dust you off. So he didn't have no problem squabbling. But I think the reason why he started Hickory Crips, because I believe that the intimidation factor from the east side was kind of getting stronger and stronger. And, you know, sometimes people just give in.
What Mexican gangs was out back then?
Well, there was only one Mexican gang that I knew of, and that was WVG. That's like in the 70s, 71, 72. They always been around. They was out before the Crips. The original Grape Street, you know what I'm saying, was out before the Crips. And they had their own thing.
How about Watts Colonial Watts?
I heard of them also. But as far as me ever seeing them or yes, I have seen a couple of their handles or their writing on the wall in Watts also. But I think I met a couple in jail.
So was Tyrone Tate the first Crip you knew in Jordan Down?
Well, he wasn't actually from the Jordan Down. He's from Hickory Street. Now, the Jordan Down had their own branch. Tyrone was the one who gave the influence to the Jordan Downs to become Crips. But Hickory was all by themselves when they first came out. It was HC, Hickory Crip, nothing else.
So do you know where Tyrone grew up? Where his influence to become a Crip came from?
You know what? That was never known right there. And that kind of made Junior Thomas very upset that Tyrone Tate did that, because our relationship with the Green Jackets and him and them, you know what I'm saying, was very close. And the funny thing about it is that, you know, the Pygmies and the Green Jackets from the Jordan Down was fighting the East Side Crips before we was. Even Honcho was fighting the East Side Crips. You know what I'm saying? Along with us, you know, when we became bounty hunters, because there wasn't no Crips in Watts. The bounty hunters came out, there still wasn't no Crips in Watts, but there was East Side across Central going towards McKinley, Wadsworth, and Stanford, and then Avalon. All that was the front hood street. That's their hood. That was original East Side, all up in there, and back towards the 100, going towards where 97 is, and all that.
And that's what Mac Thomas was.
I put it this way, he had the influence all up in there, all up in Q102, even up in that area. He had influence, you know what I'm saying? So I believe that being that he tried to stretch his little empire across Central, Alfred wasn't going for that.
It was told to me that Mac Thomas was one of the top 10 or first 10 Crips.
Oh, that's legendary. Yeah, he was there with Raymond. Everybody know that who was around that time, or whoever heard the legend. Little James Compton also.
Once Skip was killed, we formed Bishop, but we didn't know who killed Skip, so we didn't have an enemy. Raymond came over and wanted us to join the Crips, be called Bishop Crip, and in return, they would kill the guy. He said he know who killed Skip, they would kill him if we killed Junior Thomas from the bounty hunters.
Top dog, light it up, we just gave him another hit. Cause I'm a blood nigga, red rag until I die. See the brim, see the rules, yeah, you know we certified.
I'm glad Jimmy Lavador, Mr. Lavador, didn't bite into that one, because that right there, from I've seen on his program, on his subject, how they killed the bishop, or a guy who lived in their neighborhood and then became bishops. And then Raymond came and talked to them about assassinating my homeboy, Junior Thomas. That caught me off guard. I had to make a couple of phone calls, even though Junior Thomas been gone since April of this year. He been passed away. But it just caught me off guard how unknown conspiracies just pop up. You never know who. It's just like the devil, man. You know, people would straight try to kill you in your sleep if they could, man. And that's something to think about, man, knowing that people hate you to that much point to where they would conspire against even the people that you are allies with just to take you out the game. That's some heavy stuff, man.